choose to react to that in a very positive way. I choose to see a brighter side in that because it is changing. There's so much movement going on in the entire universe right now.
Hello everyone, welcome to PeepingMoon.com. I'm Rashita, Sahni, and today joining me for a super special conversation are Shama and James, who literally gave us so much couple goals recently as they got married. And I have to tell this to you too, it was, one of the most surreal weddings that we saw on the internet, because we were not personally a part of it, but we felt like, wow.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means so much. That means a lot.
You're most welcome. Let's start from the start. I'm sure you guys are tired of telling this to, explaining your love story to people. But honestly, everyone wants to know, every set of audience wants to know how you two met, how you two fell in love.
We met at a restaurant in Lokhandwala through a common friend, just on a casual dinner. It wasn't like, anybody was trying to set up anybody. It was just literally, one friend said that, I have this friend and I would like, we all to just go out for dinner, because I'm very choosy about people. So he felt like he was obligated to tell me that there is another person who will be joining us. Yeah. I said, yeah, fine, no problem. And we met and we, spoke to each other, and the night just went on pretty long. And as the night was moving, I kept feeling this weird pull toward this guy. And, it was weird. It was not physical. It was like a physical and a mental and, spiritual pull, all happening at once. And so it was so strong. And I'm thinking, like, I'm just meeting this guy for the first time. What's wrong? Like, is it because I've not had a boyfriend in a long time, or what's happening? Yeah. So I was questioning all of that. And because I wasn't in a state of mind where I was looking for a relationship. I literally, for the first time in my life, I had thought that I have found love within and I love myself and I'm going to stay single for the rest of my life. I was in that zone. Yeah. And I was like so happy with myself. And then comes Mr. James, and it was so weird the way we met, and then we just exchanged numbers, and then that night something happened, so we just kept talking all night. And then the second day we met, and the third day we met, and the fourth day we met. We just met every day after that. And after a week we realized, what the hell is happening? Why are we meeting so much? And we are talking and talking and talking, and we are sharing some of the best, the most vulnerable, the most darkest moments of our life together without any hitch. Yeah. I mean, that was something very, very special. And we were so honest to each other. We could just be at such ease with each other. There was no pretension. There was no, like, I want to show you my best. No, like, on the very first day, he saw me depressed. And not very first day, in the very first week, I think he saw me depressed. And I literally told him to get out of my house, and he saw that, and he was the only guy who didn't leave. Oh, so sweet. He stayed. He went to the door and he came back. And I pushed him. I said, why are you back? Because everybody was, when you tell somebody just go, they just leave. And he didn't. And he said, I'm going to stay with you. I don't understand what's happening with you fully, but I do understand that you probably need some love. And so I'm going to stay with you. And when he said that, I cried so much, and he just held me from back, and he just, lay down with me. And that's how, I don't even remember when I fell asleep after that, because I was so numb. And the next morning I woke up and I was much better. And I realized he stayed with me. He didn't go. He didn't leave me in my dark moment. And that meant so much for me. So it was just like from the very beginning, it was all the right things in every way possible. So there was no way, like, this would not happen. It was meant to be. It was.
I know. As they say in today's times, no red flags found.
Literally, like no red flags at all. Yeah. It was just so weird. I wanted to. I was like, no, kuch to garvad hogi, kuch to garvad. None. It was
and I'll say, we're not we're not perfect people.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, you know.
Of course.
So what I would say is that even things like in our life that somebody else might consider to be a red flag or a problem, or, you know, something that I just can't deal with, we, from the very beginning, we've been so supportive of each other and understanding of each other. She's a fantastic, the way that she understands people is because she's done so much work on herself, you know, and loving herself and discovering herself, that even in my life, like if there are issues that come up with me, she's very understanding. And if there's anything that comes up with her, I'm very understanding. And I think, you know, no relationship is 100%, you know, flowers and fairy tales all the time. What's mattered the most in our relationship is our communication. And from the very beginning, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing, and fortunately, touch wood, there's not been that many big things, you know, but we've really, you know, we've made it easy for each other, you know, we made it easy for each other. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's so lovely to hear. In fact, you know, a lot of relationships fall apart these days because there's communication missing. Something so basic as communicating, people forget to do that. But I'm glad that, you know, that's the force of your relationship.
I don't think people are trained well to communicate in our country, especially because, you know, from our childhood, they've been taught to shut up. Whenever they want to express something, they shut up. Don't say this, don't say that. It's not allowed in society, not allowed in culture, not allowed in religion. Like there's so many don'ts and, you know, do's and don'ts. So of course people are, you know, people suffer from expressing themselves in the right way. The only expression that comes out is a blast from the suppression, because now you can't contain the suppression anymore. Yeah. So I've already had that. Luckily, I'd gone through the depression and bipolar in my life. I'd gone through a lot of, you know, therapy. I'd understood trauma and what it does to a human mind. So obviously a healed person will not give that trauma to the other person and be more acceptable and accepting and more open and understanding to the other soul. So whenever there is a challenging time, you know, coming through from his side or even from my side, I understand that it is coming from so and so trauma. So I need to fix that about myself. Or when he does that, I understand that it must be coming from some trauma here. So I try to understand it that way. And that really helps. That really, really helps. And he does the same thing too. Like he somehow just has it without even, you know, having to go through whatever I went through. He just somehow has that understanding of, I'm sure it did. But I'm just like, you know, it's a great thing to have. It needs a lot of compassion and kindness in a human heart to be like that to yourself and to the other person.
I'm sure. And, you know, James, as Shama said earlier, that she asked you to leave, but you did not really go. You came back and you sort of made her very comfortable and she could be her vulnerable self in front of you so early after meeting. You know, a lot of people, even though they don't, you know, they don't get offended, but they get scared. They sort of get very petrified to deal with someone who's going through something internally. I have met people who have done that. What made you stay and what made you so strong to be there for her when she was going through this?
It's a good question. I think one should be able to look at the situation and assess really what is necessary. You know, a lot of people, they speak words out of their mouth that is not actually what they're feeling. A lot of people they put up walls and they put up barriers and boundaries and stuff like that in order to control situations. For me, I suppose the biggest reason why I stayed back is because I really did love her. You know, I've loved this woman since the very beginning, and she deserves that, you know. And I couldn't leave because I know, you know, if somebody's in a situation like that, and I did not fully understand depression to the degree that she was going through. I've had bouts of it myself, but nothing like what she's dealt with in her life. And, you know, you just have to look at the situation and say, this is a person who's going through something very challenging right now. And probably the last thing that they need is to be alone in this, this negative energy that's going on in the mind. So I stayed, I stayed because that's what anybody should do. That's what anybody should do. And she needed it. And she deserves it. She's a lovely woman, and she doesn't deserve to be in a negative feeling like that. So I just wanted to do what I could to take her out of it. So
sweet. A love like that is very rare today. I must tell you. People talk about these Gen Z people, and I myself am, from that era. So I'm like, okay, where do you find love like that? But
I always tell people, within, you find that
Within.
everywhere, you'll find it everywhere in the world.
yeah.
I'm sure. And Shama, also when you told me in the first question that, you were all out there, you were like, okay, now I'm so happy with myself, I want to be single. That is exactly the point when you find love, because you have accepted yourself with your whole heart. You are now loving yourself. Self-love is a very, very big part of finding love. So did that happen with you?
Absolutely. And I emphasize on that every time anybody asks me, I'm like, forget about what you want outside. Just freaking look inside, spend some time with yourself and know who you really are. Love yourself. When you see, it's like the universe is only going to give you what you really want, right? So if you are sending confused signals to the universe, it is going to bring in more confused people in your life because you're sending confused signals, right? So when you find yourself and when you accept yourself as who you are, you get clarity. You know what a big bomb it is? To have clarity. And when you have that clarity, and when you then throw the vibrations in the universe of clarity, then the universe, it's much easy for the universe to bring you what you really are looking for. So I always wanted a partner who has the capability to love me the way I love people. And I love people with all that I have. I have the capability to love. And, it was unfortunate that I hadn't found anybody who could love like that. I had people who loved me in different ways, with their fears or whatever, but nobody could love me fearlessly like he did. But before that, I had to love myself fearlessly. So it only works like that always.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, right? So if you think about two people, right, in a relationship, and think about them as if they're like two glasses, right? And they have so much love. Yeah. Now, if you both start in that relationship only half full of love, only half full of self-love, then how much can you pour into the other person?
Exactly.
You only have so much. So first, you have to begin your relationship from a period of being full. And then whenever you're feeling less, then your partner can fill you back up. And then when your partner is feeling less, then you can fill your partner back up. And, touch wood, for the entire duration of our relationship, we have only focused on loving ourselves as much as we possibly can and loving each other as much as we possibly can. And so we're never empty, we're never empty because of that. She makes
an incredible way of explaining it.
Yeah.
He explains insanely well. He strategically puts out things. Like I always tell him, I'm not that good at what's going on in my mind to bring it into words. He has that talent. Whatever goes on in his mind, he makes it really easy for people to understand. He just structures everything really well.
Agree completely. I witnessed that right now. But that being said, of course, I want to know about that one particular moment where, you two realize that I want to marry him or I want to marry her, that moment.
It was his realization first.
Okay.
He always wanted to marry. And that, you see, I always wanted a love like that also. I wanted a guy who was courageous enough to, fall in love with a girl and then be courageous enough to marry her, to take the responsibility of the relationship with her. And unfortunately, I hadn't found anybody in Mumbai because everybody was so confused. And, or if you find a guy like that, maybe sometimes, you wouldn't love the person, the same way. It wasn't happening. Like the unity or the coming together wasn't happening from both sides. So when I met him and he said that he wanted to marry me within a month's time or whatever. Yeah. No, you asked me to be your girlfriend.
I asked you to be my girlfriend.
Yeah. And then I said, well, nobody asked me to be his girlfriend. I thought we were already dating. I don't think so. Like, we are dating. It's not just like some kind of fun. Or like, no, I don't think so. And then within a year, he asked me to be his wife. And that just like, it blew my mind how courageous he was, how simple he was, and how, like, it takes a lot of courage, boss, for a guy to propose to a girl like me. To a girl, kid, but somebody like me who's I'm a very strong person, I'm very easy, but to understand me takes a lot of time and effort and guts, which many people didn't show before. But he did, and he did it flawlessly, and he did it so simply that it just blew my mind. I was like, how simple is this guy? Does he even realize what is he asking for? Does he have any idea? And he did, and I was like, what the hell? How can he be so sure? Like, I was like, you want to marry me? Like, how? There's, in my mind, I'm having all these questions, but not that I had any doubt that I, know about anything, but marriage is a big decision, right? So, and everybody makes it sound so cynical.
I know, yeah.
Marriage, you're like, freak. Like, if you think about marriage, like, you must be crazy or something. They make these silly jokes about marriage, but it's such a beautiful freaking union. Today when I am married with him, I've never witnessed anything so beautiful in my life. That moment when we said our vows to each other, I've never witnessed anything so powerful. Yeah. So powerful. There was so much power. You know why? Because it came from our soul. It came from our honesty, from our integrity, from the core of our soul. There was no obligation. There was no pressure. There was nothing. It was just out of our will and desire. So if people want to marry, please make sure that you have all these feelings within first. Mm-hmm. Don't just get married because of your parents want you to get married, or you get married because you're crossing 40 or 30 or whatever shit, I really don't believe in that. Every time anybody asks me a question like, ma'am, when are you getting settled? And I used to be like, what do you mean? Do I look unsettled to you?
Yeah, I know. So annoying.
No, we're asking, when are you getting married? I said, so ask me, when am I getting married? Yeah. Don't mix it with getting settled, This creates a wrong example, because people can be settled without marriage.
Exactly.
Marriage doesn't bring settlement.
Yeah.
So definitely agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James, what about you? What was going on in your mind? Shama explained very beautifully what was going on in hers.
I've always been a person for a long time in my life where I expected that I would get married. I've been prepared to get married. I'm definitely a one-woman type of guy. I don't have any interest in anybody else. I don't have any interest in entertaining anybody else. And I've always felt like a man should have the strength to be able to dedicate himself to a woman and be there for her and do what he can to take care of her and live a full life together, And so ever since I was young, I always thought, it would be really nice when I'm 70 years old or 80 years old to wake up next to somebody who really knows me thoroughly and, not some other random person every couple of years. So I've always really, really cherished the idea and the concept of marriage. And I spent the majority of my 20s completely single. I didn't date anybody because I was waiting, I just always knew that the right person would come along, and I believed that, and I had the faith in that. And then she came along, and when I first met her, everything was so easy. It was so beautiful. as she mentioned, we just kept meeting every single day from the first day we met. And there was something very supernatural about our union. You know, ever since the day that we came together, it was something that both of us have been waiting for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I was ready to commit myself to her very, very early on. And because I knew her, you know, I knew her very deeply, very quickly. She was the one who was a little bit like, you know, didn't know if she ever really wanted to get married. And even her friends, like when I proposed to her and she agreed and said, yes, I'll marry you. Like her friends were like dropping their phones and stuff, like not calling. Like there were a couple of her friends who didn't even get in
They didn't
contact
talk
with
to
them.
me for 3 days. They went in shock. It's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
How that happened?
So I remember the day we were actually at our previous home, and it was late one evening. It was probably like midnight or something like that, and we were both just reclining on the couch, and we had just a beautiful day and a really good week. And she just put her arms around me and she just said, baby, marry me before I change my mind. Marry me before I change my mind. And the very next day I started shopping for engagement rings. I'm like, okay, she's ready now. Yeah.
No, we are also glad that she did not change her mind.
Me too.
He didn't leave me a choice.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And you know, Shama, you mentioned about people asking when are you getting settled. Now, I hear so much of that. In fact, I hear journalists also asking that to female actresses that "Aap shaadi kab kar rahe hain? Aap settle kab ho rahe hain?" You know, all of these questions that come across as very sexist. Firstly, because you wouldn't ask that to a man. I haven't heard anyone asking that to a man, that "Aap settle kab ho rahe hain?" Because they presume he's already settled because he's settled in his career. Now, that's very wrong, and I think that's very unfair for women to go through that. Now, also, a part of society expects that once a woman gets married, her career is done, her career is over, and all of those things. Now, we of course live in an urban society. We don't come across a lot of people like that, but there are people who still believe that. How do you react to that?
I think it's changing, you know?
Yeah.
I choose to react to that in a very positive way. I choose to see a brighter side in that because it is changing. There's so much movement going on in the entire universe right now. You know, it is coming to this understanding where today we are able to talk about these things, wherein we didn't even have, any inclination or any medium to talk about these things. You know, we knew it. We probably know, a lot of us were not even aware that this is a sexist question to be asked. I mean, all of us took it so naturally, like, हाँ ठीक है, लड़की है तो पूछेगा तो. It's a very normal question to be asked to a girl. I grew up in a family where my father gave me all the freedom to be who I wanted to be. And I come from Rajasthan, where it's unfortunate that still a lot of female child is in compromise at birth. And I was born in a family where I was celebrated. My birth was celebrated. They literally send sweets in the whole village to my small town to announce my birth. And they're like, oh, beta hua hai, beta. No, my grandfather said, no, hamare yahan beti hui. So that changes a lot of things.
I know.
I was the first girl child to go to schools in my small town. So they gave me that. It's very important for families to understand that. It's very sad that even women journalists ask the same question to women. There were two female journalists who came to my house. They were old. So I'm using their age here because I'm assuming that that's where the mentality came from.
Correct.
And they found it very funny and very cocky. And I was like, why would you, being a female, ask me this question? When are you getting settled? But you see, this is the problem with the training and conditioning. We've been conditioned to say that.
I know.
Women are conditioned to be and behave in a particular manner. And if the families, if the elders of the family is not going to change that, I mean, we're going to have a long fight. So, today I feel like there's a lot of conversation that's happening around it. There's a lot of awareness about it. A lot of my small town, nobody ever became an actress. Nobody even became an actor, even though they were very rich and they were capable. They could not enter the film line. They have friends here. They tried really, really hard, but for a girl child to become where what I have become and where I have reached is an impossible task. So, boss, I'm like, I'm a phenomenon for them. I'm a miracle magic for them. But this has given birth to so many desires in so many girls and boys in my small town, that they now can think, oh, this is possible for them. One person has already become that, so this is possible for them. It gives them hope. Just like that, if we all just from today, whatever understanding that we are coming to, whatever learnings that we are learning from the world, if we change ourselves as an individual, because the world can only change individually, it will not change. Like I cannot go and start talking on the mic and change everybody. No, everybody has to change on their own and make a self-conscious effort to not use such words, consciously use the right vocabulary needed.
Correct.
Because to them it's just words, but actually those words have great meaning. Somebody said to me, this is why it's called spelling, because it spells. It creates a spell. What you talk, it's magic spell in the universe, so you have to be very, very careful of what you talk and how you talk and how women talk about themselves and other women. Very, very important. Very important. I mean, men I've still seen very respectful to but women, the way they treat each other is not correct. And it's very sad. It's very, very sad.
I know. Correct. Definitely agreed.
I wanted to add something.
Sure.
I don't think that anybody should have the right to crush somebody else's dreams just like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, if it's her dream to be an actor and to continue her career as an actor, and our relationship, go for it. She should have that complete right. And I wouldn't want someone else, to come to me and say, hey, now that suddenly, you've signed some papers and, you're married, that now you have to leave everything and quit everything that you're doing. Like, now, if that is the dream, if that's the dream of a woman or a man to leave their work and to, take care of a family or do whatever you want to do, great, go for it. But I think the biggest issue that I see in this situation is when somebody in a family demands that the dreams of somebody in that family be crushed for the sake of a formality. And I do think it's changing, and I'm glad it's changing.
It is. And I also feel like it's putting a lot of your own limitation on the other person. A lot of fears of society, what the world is going to say. हमारे घर की बहू काम करेगी तो ये वो सब यहाँ बहुत होता है. In India it happens. Even as an individual, all of us, we're not fully aware of our capabilities. I feel like women are absolutely capable of and rightfully so to handle a family and an office or any workplace as good as a man.
Of course.
Sometimes even better, I would say, because women handle it much better. They somehow handle stress much better than men do. So I don't know. I'm not trying to be superior or whatever, but I think we are very equal species, and we both should be given equal respect and equal opportunities. At least let the other person give the opportunities at least.
Correct.
Don't judge another person on gender or religion or freaking anything. Their capability as a being, what they bring to the table. It's as simple as that. Why should I be judged for being a woman, or why should he be judged for being a man, or any other gender? Why should they be judged for these things? Shouldn't they be judged purely out of their capability of achieving whatever they are meant to achieve?
Agreed. Definitely. I think this is something that we are all, as a society, as human beings, we are learning, and I'm so glad we can all talk about it, and we can so proudly say that gender doesn't matter and we are all in for equality. In fact, James, I'd just like to, one last question. It's not actually a question. I'd like to, for you to give an advice to all men out there who, because I see you're so supportive and I see the kind of things you have told in this interview. What do you have to say to all those men who are not that supportive and are sort of making their women's life a little difficult by not lending that support? Because I feel family support, especially your husband's or your boyfriend support, is also equally important when you are doing good in your career.
No, it is important. To all of those people, I would ask them to take some time and look at themselves and ask themselves, why am I unable to support my partner like this? Because it probably has less to do about their partner and it has everything to do with something in their own mind.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's a way that they've grown up. Maybe it's something that somebody else told them. Maybe there's pressure from society that makes them feel like they have to control or not give in their relationship in a way that maybe they should. So I would recommend for all of those people just to look at yourself and ask, why am I like this? And is this the best way? Because there's many other ways to live your life. You can build a life of joy and happiness just by analyzing yourself, making decisions about how to change yourself from within so that you can be a better partner and create something much more beautiful than what you have today. You can always get better. Everything can always get better. And one should really ask, what is better? Is better trying to control my partner?
Yeah.
Is better communicating better with my partner so that we have a more peaceful and enjoyable relationship where we can follow our dreams together and support each other? In my opinion, that's better. I think everybody needs to look internally at themselves and ask themselves these questions.
And when a man does that, a woman also should not I've seen a lot of women just they'll play this very bad ego game where they'll just go quiet and not talk to the man and let him come and let him say sorry 10,000 times and then only I'll agree. Don't be that woman.
I know.
Don't be that. That's a very bad quality of a woman.
I want to add something else here.
Sure.
Whether it's the woman or whether it's the man, you should have the courage to confront your partner, to contend with your partner in a way that makes you both grow.
Yeah.
The problem that I see in most relationships that I've observed is one person feels offended and they just do more damage to their partner, and then the partner feels offended and then they do damage back, and it becomes this.
There's a lot of ego play,
It becomes this ball of resentment and people get very unhappy. It is very courageous to be able to sit down without getting angry, put your emotions aside and say, hey, look, this is something that I'm feeling. This is a way that I'm feeling hurt by you, or this is something in your behavior that I don't like. I'm not telling you to change, but I'm just telling you how it makes me feel. It's up to you to change it now, but I'm just telling you how it makes me feel. Have those kinds of conversations.
It's very important to express your way, not try to change the other person, not put that judgment on the other person, but also please don't suppress your feelings. Have courage to speak and speak in a nice way, speak in the correct tone. I've seen people trying to talk, man, they don't talk, they just shout at each other and then nobody's listening. So I'm thinking, how is this going to get solved? Somebody needs to listen. Somebody needs to calm their voice down. So like in our relationship, so many years, we've never raised our voices on each other. We've always, spoken like two very respectful beings, because I respect myself, he respects himself. We don't want to pull ourselves down to that level where we are ugly and blaming each other and all that. No, that's very I dislike that. I despise that. It's unnecessary. It's like it pulls me down as a human being. If I'm a human being and something is happening to me, yes, fine. I have to see that. I have to validate that. but at the same time, see the other person's perspective also. He or she also might be going through some stress, something that they are not able to understand. So I have to at least be open to listen to them. And if the other person is not able to communicate, how can I even understand? So communication in the right way is very, very important. But that can only happen, I again and again emphasize on that. It can only happen when you know yourself.
Yeah.
You got to spend time knowing yourself. You've got to know who you really are. That's the main basic thing of everything. Everything starts from there.
Agreed completely.
No.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shama and James. I have to tell this before completing this interview that after speaking to you two, I have this newfound respect for, true love and for finding your own self before finding love. I have been a firm believer of that self-love, and people have called me obsessed and all of that. I'm like, no, because if you don't love yourself, who else will? So that quote I really follow. And today talking to you two made me feel, really good and about so much positivity and so much love around. So thank you so much for this beautiful conversation.
I'm glad that we could make you feel like that. So thank you for
Rashita.
absorbing whatever we said, and thank you for appreciating whatever we said.